Hi, you guys. Welcome to Girl Talk Sunday with Erin. A podcast that I host, I guess, whenever I'm in the mood. So, this is episode 3. So, episode 1, it was just all of my friends, and we just kind of hung out, had girl talk. I introduced the podcast. Episode 2, I did a Bible study with, I believe it was like 6 or 7 other ladies. All strangers. And then episode today we are focusing on self-care. So self-care is one of my ultimate favorites. What would life be without it, really? I am super excited about today just to hear what others are doing and all the different things that the ladies have to share. So we're talking to I had scheduled 7 other ladies, so including me it'll be 8 of us. I was trying to wait till everyone gets here, but let's just get started. So I'll add the ladies now. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
And we have one more. Okay, let's change the setting.
Let's see.
All right, so I'm gonna go like with all the questions, all the discussion. I'm just gonna go in order. So we'll start with just an introduction and what is your idea with of self care. I cannot see. Oh, that's why. Because 1 second. So we'll start with the intro from Stella. Is that how you pronounce your name? I'm horrible with names. Yep. Is that
Yes,
how you?
yes,
Okay, so
that's it.
I'll just let you introduce yourself and then let us know your idea of self care.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Stella. I am AMFT, APCC, so I'm a psychotherapist. I work primarily with children, teens, and individuals that are neurodivergent. So self care is a huge thing for me, for myself, and also for a lot of clients. My idea of self care, I think there's a lot of different ideas of self care that I have. But one of mine is a lot of preventative measures of burnout. So that includes really taking care of yourself, front loading your day, able to find what's really sustainable for you in the long term, so you're not burning out earlier in the day. Being able to find time for yourself, friends that fit your lifestyle, and be able to just balance work and life. I know, Erin, like a lot of the things that we talk about is like, how do we balance work and life? How do we find that perfect spot where we're not at the end where we're like, we can't hang out with your friends or we can't even, spend time with ourselves. So a lot of that in my idea is like preventative measures and keeping ourselves in check, for when we have those signs where we're going to get into that burnout phase.
I love that. And a lot of times for me, I keep going and going and going and going, and then I have to remind myself, like, wait a minute, girl, you gotta take care of yourself. So yes, that is so on point. Okay, so Jackie, is that how you pronounce your name?
It's JC Marie.
JC. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all
All
good.
right.
Good morning, everyone. My name is JC Marie. I'm a coach, a registered nurse, and an educator. For me, it's really self care is mind, body, spirit. Everything must align for you to be fully aligned with what it is that you're doing to care for yourself. So self-talk is huge. That will just set the intention for the day of how excuse me, how you're speaking to yourself, what you're taking in into your vessel. That could be media, that could be conversations, that could be food, everything aligning, right? And then how are you moving your body as well? And then spiritually, if it's prayer, if it is meditation, if it's just stillness, it's how are you caring for yourself in all 3 aspects and then having them work synergistically for you to move forward in life, in the day, and just feeling your best. That's it.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Morgan, and then Lisa, and then Lachelle. Dr. Lachelle. Sorry.
All right, so I up. Okay, awesome. Well, my name is Dr. Moran, and I'm a clinical pharmacist by trade. I think the biggest issue with me personally with self care is almost feeling worthy enough to carve out time for myself. Especially, I had two kids 22 months apart, and I felt I was definitely in the thick of it. So it's really hard in that like season to make it a priority. But I feel when I did make it a priority, I came back a better mother, a better wife, a better friend, a better sister, a better aunt. So I feel like there's something to be said of, carving out that space for us. And I feel as women, we're really good at putting other people first and awful at putting ourselves first. So that was my struggle, I would say.
I love that we have moms here as well, because I wanted to make sure that we had at least a couple moms here to also give that perspective as well. So yes, I'm not a mom, but all of my friends are, and that is just a thing for everyone. Okay, Lisa, you're up.
Okay, we're introducing ourselves and then we are sharing what exactly about self-care?
Your idea. What is your idea of self-care?
Ideal. Okay. Hello, my name is Lisa. I'm a former elementary school teacher and I'm currently a girls' confidence coach. And self-care is big. I don't really think when I had a 9 to 5, I really did self-care in the way JC was like mind, body, and spirit. I did not do that. I would dress myself up and I would get out the door and I would grab my food and my drinks. But now I see self care like how she described more holistically, right? Like, so what does my spirit need? What does my body need? Um, and I'm so grateful I'm here because as a mom, I need to think about it in that way. So, my ideal self care now are slow mornings. I don't rush anywhere and I just, journal, I stretch, I hydrate, and I just have the morning to myself to pour into myself. So that way I feel I'm not dressed just physically, I'm dressed spiritually, I'm dressed mentally to be better prepared to conquer the day with my toddler. So that's my ideal self-care, and I believe everybody should have some kind of ritual, some kind of time in the day, even if you're a not even especially if you're a busy mom, even if it's just 10 minutes. So my self-care mornings are just about 30 minutes and it's perfect. It doesn't need to be extensive, but that's just time that's allotted for me. And then I kind of just see whatever I need energetically throughout the day. And I either do that, um, or I decide that day, like, what do I need? Do I need to sit with myself at the park? Do I need to spend time with friends? And I try to squeeze that in when I have help and support. So that's kind of like how I look at it and what I try to make, not what I try, what I do make time for. Because if I don't carve out the time, it won't get done.
I love that. Dr. Lachelle.
Good morning. For me, I'm a therapist, so self care is very important to me. I think it's setting those healthy boundaries, understanding my burnout and what that looks like. Um, Taking everyone's problems in and trying to figure out, okay, where do I put that information? When I clock out at night and, go home to my kids. So just making sure I carve out that time spiritually, my prayer and my workouts and just getting to know myself, because we tend to go long periods of time without really honing in on, okay, how do I take care of myself? How do I maintain that flexibility and stability in life? And being a mom, I'm still in school, I'm working. It's a lot. It gets to be a lot. So just understanding, okay, Lachelle, I need to calm down. I need to take some time out, for myself, even if that's just going to the nail shop or going to Target, walking around and just being in my thoughts. I think that's important for me.
Yeah, so my self-care, to me, self-care is, it's kind of a combination of all of you guys's. So recently I just started I guess getting back into or focusing more on working my body out. I always, in my mind, I'm like, okay, when I'm 60, 70, and 80, I still want to be one, cute, but I still, most importantly, I want to be healthy. So I know that I have to do things today so that long term I'll be cute and healthy. Two, when I quit my job, I gave myself a couple of rules, but one of the rules was that I'm going to set my own schedule, and my own schedule includes me giving myself my mornings. So I don't take clients until 11 a.m. A lot of times I'm still kind of doing like back end work stuff, but if I want to sleep in, or if I want to have coffee, or if I want to spend time on my front porch, or if I want to go to the gym, whatever it is, I have that time to do so. Exactly. I have that time to do so. Another thing that I am doing is changing my eating. I don't eat that bad, but that goes into it as well, because I notice that when I'm eating junk, I feel like I'm eating junk, and when I'm eating better, I feel better. And that plays into self-care. So there's so many things that I do, and I can be here forever listing everything, but I've just started recently focusing more, because self-care is me in 20, 30, and 40 years from now. Um, so I just have a list of questions, and I'll just like, I probably won't go in order, and I have a lot, so I won't go over all of them, but I'll just jump around with the questions. And we'll just answer them in order. One second. All right. So what is there or what can you say that the benefit of self-care is? I posted, because I posted to I'm a part of a lot of Facebook groups. I posted to a lot of groups, and a lot of the ladies were even either messaging me or commenting under the post like, yes, I need this because I don't know what to do in order to get my self-care, but I know that I need it. So what would you say the benefit is to placing self-care important in our lives?
I think
Stella. Oh, okay, go ahead.
I think for me, it's just clarity. I think it allows me to be more clear and have better understanding on what I'm doing. I notice if I'm not practicing self care, I'm more brain fog, and just communicating with others is better when I take care of myself.
I love that. Okay, we'll just go in order, but Stella, you'll go next.
Yeah, I think a huge thing is being kind to everybody else when we don't have self care for ourselves. It kind of limits our capacity to be kind to other people. And I kind of explain it to my kiddos as if we are kind of a container box and we don't do self care to kind of take all of the contents from our container box and let it out, we're going to be so fully capacitated that we're not going to be able to be kind to other people. We're not going to be able to have that emotional capacity towards other people. And a lot of the time, self-care lets us slow down. And I think, it's very in line with what JC said about, connecting your mind and your body. Because I think when we're not able to connect our mind and our body, and we're not able to slow down, we're not listening to what we actually need. And when we don't listen to what we actually need, we're not going to have space to listen to what other people need. And that is going to be that disconnecting factor that takes us away from community and takes us away from ourselves. So it's kind of this like spiral that we go through if we don't do self-care. If we don't do self-care, we're not going to care about ourselves, and we're not going to care about others, and it's just going to lead us to this isolation. The effects of self-care are amazing, and I know a lot of people, it's a privilege to have that time for self-care, but I think it's also really important to say, okay, well, it's a privilege for me to also take care of myself. And sometimes we just need to put ourselves first in that sense too, so that we can put other people on our plate and really be able to have that community.
My turn?
Yes.
In my outlook on self-care, it's a privilege, but it's also very much mandatory. It's very much the analogy of the airplane. How are you going to help anybody if your oxygen mask is not on yourself first? Your cup gets to be filled first and foremost, and then you can move forward into work, business, kids, life, but you are fulfilled. So my cup has got to be filled. Excess and overflow is what everyone else gets, because how am I going to be good to anyone else if I'm not taking care of myself? And I love that you said it was a privilege, but it's also too, if those who can't figure out how to make time for it, you schedule it just like you would schedule any other appointment. You know, you schedule an appointment for yourself. Put yourself on that calendar if that's the only way that you're going to make time for yourself. But always too with self-care, it's a choice. So you can choose 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or no minutes, but ultimately it's your choice.
I love that. I kind of want to go on that path too. I definitely think it is more than a privilege. It's almost mandatory. I feel like when I did start scheduling my times to do what I wanted, I could show up better for others. For me, in my self care, it looks like I go surfing every day in the morning. I drop the kids off at school and I get an hour to go and just be my myself, not talk to anyone.
Wait a
Just,
minute. You
yes,
go surfing every morning?
yes, ma'am.
I love that life for you. Like,
I
what?
love it too.
That is awesome. Sorry to interrupt. I just had to.
Yeah. So I grew up in San Diego. So I grew up with the ocean, but I never got into surfing. I always thought like there's no way I could afford like a surfboard. It's too expensive. Enter X, Y, and Z things. And so this year I kind of just put it out in the universe. I was like, this is the year that I'm going to learn. I don't know how, but I'm just going to do it. So I started talking to people, and like little did I know that like I would say like a handful of people that I knew surfed. So I took them on the offer to learn, and ever since then, like I've just been going every day, and it's awesome. Um, but I had to take that initiative for myself, and I'm not always the best at it, but it's something that gives me peace, and I take that peace with my kids. So if they are screaming at me, I don't yell at them. I say, okay, you're having a tough moment. I see you. But before it was just like, you know, very hostile, I would say. So by taking self care, I get peace, and it's everything.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit because I was going to say that for me, I noticed the benefits of self care is I'm calmer, I'm happier, and I have more patience for my daughter because technically I'm a stay at home mom. And, I do have part time support 5 days a week, but, it's me all the time. So if I don't do self care, if I don't make time to pour into myself, I notice I have less patience. I'm like, it's harder for me to be regulated and be there for her when she has those moments. So it's just super important for me to make that time because the benefits are, like I said, I'm happier, I'm calmer, I have more patience, which is just important to have that every day. So I did want to share something else too. I notice I'm typically overstimulated with my toddler because she's loud and she talks all day. So I love taking like for my self-care, I take breaks a lot. I spend time with myself. I'm scheduling a trip for the end of this month, one night, 2 days to just go somewhere and be in nature
You
alone.
go, girl.
And I'm so excited. And like I notice I need to create these things and schedule these things ahead to find and have something to be excited for myself, outside of my business, outside of motherhood, because like I always talk to myself and I tell myself, okay, what do you want? What do you need? Like I matter. I need to still do the things that I did before, maybe not as much and as long, but to schedule that time, because if not, it doesn't happen. And the days go by, the weeks and the months. And so every month I do something. Every day I do something, even if it's little. But this one is going to be like the big thing for the month. So I just want to share, like with self care, I look at it as like little things and then bigger things.
Yeah,
So
I
I
love
love
that.
that.
My the benefit for me, like I said, I kind of said it with the first question, is just my overall being, like not only in who I am today, but like years and years from now, like when I'm putting in these practices, who I'll turn out to be because of it. Which rolls over into the next question. So do you guys think that this question just popped up while we were talking, so let me make sure I word it correctly. But do you guys think that self-care has to be like all the good things or all the feel good things, because one of my self-care practices is prayer and fasting, and it doesn't always feel good. It's not easy at all, but it's very beneficial to me, and that too is can be, I consider it to be a part of my self-care. So what do you guys think?
Can I go? I don't know if we have to go in order. So I'm glad you brought that up because I don't really think about it like how you asked it, but one of the things I notice I do have to make time for that's part of my self care, and it's not fun, it's not always comfortable, but I need to make time to process things and and make room for my emotions because I notice I don't always have time to during the day. Like during the day, I got to make sure we get fed, I got to make sure I handle little things. And sometimes I notice, like when I get to the end of the day, there's some things in there. And so I noticed now as a mom, because before I could do it whenever it came up. But now sometimes I need to just make that time to sit with myself and journal and process why I'm feeling a certain way and just make space for myself. Not always alone, sometimes therapy, sometimes other people, but it's something I do, like you said, that's not always pleasant, but is needed and is part of my self care.
And I'll piggyback off of that. When we think about self care, we think about like what are our needs exactly. And sometimes it is putting ourselves in that uncomfortable situation that's, outside of our comfort zone. And that's something that we actually need for ourselves in order to grow. One of the things self-care can look for someone to be like, let's isolate for a little bit. I'm overstimulated throughout the week. My self-care is to turn on maybe like a comfort show of mine and just, have a relaxing weekend without having to go out. But also on the other end, like if you are someone that's more on the isolating side, that maybe feels like it's overstimulating to go out and do things 24/7, maybe self-care looks like for you is growth. Like what does growth look like for me? Growth looks like socializing with people. Growth looks like putting myself in maybe not the most comfortable situation. And I'll say, like, being on a podcast in general isn't like my everyday kind of like thing that I feel insanely comfortable with. But I think part of my self-care plan is, let me put myself in places that I can grow, where I can meet people. In the long run, I will become more comfortable. In the long run, I'll be more confident in who I am. And that's the preventative measure part of self-care that I find super important, because it's not only, let me, take a nap, let me go out and let me do something relaxing. Let me grow. Let me do something that's going to put me in a place where I'm going to be sustainable in the future. And I think it's a really good way to kind of look at self-care, because it's not always going to be a very comfortable thing. Sometimes it's going to be the discomfort before we actually can get to a sustainable, comfortable area in our lives.
I love that, Stella. I've never thought of that as self-care, but that is me. Like when it comes to business, I am doing things that I want know absolutely nothing about what I'm doing. But if I have a desire to do it, I'll just figure out ways to do it, and I jump out there uncomfortable, not knowing, and I just show up. So I love that you said that. Dr. Lachelle.
I would say for me, processing as well. I think it didn't happen until COVID. We were doing a lot of teletherapy, and I'm also a sex offender treatment provider. So when I was in office, I was, to come home, I would listen to my music. I would kind of, get all that information out of my head as much as possible. But what I realized I was compartmentalizing a lot of things. So when COVID hit and we were working from home, there was no transition from home to work. I mean, from work to home. So I was like, okay, how do I, process this information? And now it's me working out. When I work out, I put on my headphones and I kind of process all that information. And it was important to me. It's not the easiest thing to do, working with that population, because I have children. So I was able to really hone in on those emotions that I was feeling. And it's important, as a therapist, to be biased and just to have that open-mindedness. So yeah, for me, it's really just processing the information and making sure that I get those emotions out and I understand those emotions. So yeah.
So, uncomfortable self care practices that or could be perceived as uncomfortable are for women and mothers who are high achieving or success focused, would be calming down, staying still, practicing the pause because there is power in the pause, and being able to just sit with whatever's coming up or just to be still so you can see or hear or notice what that next step is that you want to take, how you want to honor your body. Also, too, just getting into nature. Some people are like, I don't want to be in nature. That's kind of weird. But when you are able to get into nature and feel the essence and just be, these are these can be uncomfortable situations for those who want to go, go, go and are always in their mind or always busy, right? And then two, those who are creating a new habit. So if you're working out, really being able to stick to that and move forward in that, may be uncomfortable in the beginning, but then you're adopting this as your new self-care practice and habit moving forward. So it's really just looking at being with yourself sometimes is very challenging for many people just to see what's coming up. But our emotions are energy in motion, and everything is energy. So it's really being able to honor what's coming up so you can process, um, like she had said, and then move forward.
So I kind of want to piggyback off of a little bit of everyone, a little bit of potpourri. For me, I'm really high achieving, type A, perfectionist. So for me, slowing down is hard. A lot of people in my life, they know that about me. And so going on hikes is amazing because the people that I go with, they make sure that I slow down and pause and just be. And for me, that's really hard because I'm very goal oriented. And it's usually I lose sight of the journey and I just look at the destination. So I do things that force me to slow down, whether it's meditation, whether it's cold showers, cold baths. Because I feel like when I'm in cold water, there's not a lot of thinking you can do, and you just have to be. You have to slow down, you have to surrender, and you can't think about other things. You just literally have to be. And that's something that it's not easy for me. It's uncomfortable, but I need it.
I love that. I absolutely love a cold shower. You guys are like having me think about all this stuff because I never thought about it that way. When I'm taking a cold shower, it's usually when I'm at the gym and I'm coming out of the steam room or a sauna. Then I'll go jump in this cold shower, then go back in the steam room, and I'll just go back and forth. But it's just me just running. But you did mention about like slowing down and stopping. So that for me is easy. I know when my body is like, I'm tired, or not even my body, like when my brain is just like, okay, I need a break. And I just find time in my life to just take a break, and I just do nothing until I feel like, or usually that time is spent like when I'm drained or tired, I usually take that time to go spend with God, and I'm just re-energized after that. But sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes it takes a week. Sometimes it's a few days. Sometimes it's a few minutes. Sometimes it just depends on, I guess, when God is like, okay, get up, you're good now. So is there any situation that you could describe where self-care played a role in your decision-making process? Like either you did or didn't do a thing because self-care. Like this either goes against my self-care or it doesn't align with my self-care.
So I used to work in community mental health. Used to work with foster children, and it's a lot of heavy work. And Dr. Lachelle, you working with like sex offenders and having to kind of take that back home because it really never leaves us. We really feel extremely heavy with it. And a lot of the work that I did was like wraparound work. So I would drive into neighborhoods of lower SES and work with these individuals and, do a lot of the case management and things like that. I would drive like an hour over and then an hour back to where I am. So it was a lot of that kind of work. And I realized like I was always on fight or flight mode. I was always on like, what do I need to do for this family right now? How do I make life easier for this family? What can I contribute? And what angles can I take this where their life is going to improve in certain ways that I can control? A lot of the stuff is out of my control, and unfortunately, that becomes something that weighs extremely heavy on me as well. So, a lot of the self care that I neglected at that point was listening to my body. And my body was kind of screaming, like, I'm tired. I'm exhausted from driving back and forth. I'm exhausted from what I can't control within like a community mental health setting. I'm exhausted from like Department of Mental Health kind of like really holding me to only a certain standard that I can't, go forward and help more even if I wanted to. So it really stopped me from seeing what my needs actually are. And when I made that decision to, okay, I'm going to start to do these morning walks, really do that bilateral stimulation and really have this schedule in the morning, I recognized I feel so much better when I'm stabilized, when I'm regulated. And what's causing me to be dysregulated is the 405 traffic, going into things that I can't control, a lot of those aspects. So once I made the transition and I decided to go into a private practice, I completely felt this stress just release from my body. And, I'm still able to contribute in the ways that I want to contribute, but now it's on my terms. And it's a way that I feel comfortable and a way that I feel like I'm actually doing good work. And when I was able to kind of slow that down, I felt like the work that I did became so much more meaningful. So, really, that self care provided me that insight to I can become more of a competent clinician if I'm not on that fight or flight all the time. And I'm able to really contribute to the community if I'm regulated. So, CMH really stopped me from being able to see that. But once I was really in tune with like my body's kind of yelling at me right now, I made that change. And I think that change really sent me in a really good projection towards a better career, better towards, family, friends, and even my clients as well.
I
Anyone
think
else? Oh, I'm sorry.
I think we have very similar stories in that regard, experiences, because I was too wraparound, and it's a very intensive service. It's the crisis calls late at night, having to respond to those calls. Your phone is near you at all times because you can't miss a call, and working weekends. And I was like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. It was a burnout for me, and just transitioning to providing regular therapy in a less intensive service was everything for me. It was a pay cut, but it was like, okay, my mental health is much more important at this point. And trying to balance that in school and kids, it was like, okay, no, I can't do it anymore. So just understanding when you are feeling overwhelmed and taking that step to say, okay, I have to set some healthy boundaries. And with work, it's hard to set healthy boundaries. How we make our money and we provide for our families and things of that nature is it's important to us, and it's um, how we survive. But also, like one of the young ladies said, if you don't practice self-care and you can't take care of your family, then what? So I thought that was very important to make those decisions. And I think now that I got my doctorate a few years ago, and now I'm like, okay, it's time for me to transition to, building my own practice. And I think for that, it will give me a lot more, flexibility and just understanding.
Woo! Congratulations in advance.
Thank you.
um, for me, I think with decision making and self care, it was easier to make decisions when I realized that no is a complete sentence and I need a full body yes to move forward. I don't care what's going on. If I'm not a full body yes, we're not doing it. And being able to honor that and realizing how much more I honor myself, the alignment of the things that I say yes to are on fire. Because if I go into something with a no and I'm like, oh, I should, and feeling guilt or whatever it is, it's so challenging. It's so annoying. It's just, you have this heavy weight of, why did I say yes? Like, I knew I didn't want to do this, but we go against that. And that's not honoring self-care. That's not honoring self. That's not honoring intuition. It's not honoring your gut. It's just, you've just moved past something else. And now you're in a situation that does not feel good. So no is a complete sentence, and it's okay to use it. And you can get a full body yes and move forward with whatever it is that you want. So with decisions, it's definitely be going back to body, just honor your body, your mind, and your spirit and what it wants to do. And it'll lead you into things that you just love to do and feel good about.
I love that you brought that up, JC, about the just no being a complete thought sentence. It's something that I've been practicing more now. My daughter Camila's gonna turn 2 in November, but I've been practicing more of this after she turned 1. So basically a year of practicing the no, like me knowing when it's a no in my body, and then being able to say like no to my partner when he wants to have family time at the end of the day. And I know my energetic level is like down here, and I know I'm not in the space to have fun and be out, and that's been hard for me to have to say no many times to him. But I remember, I think it was at the beginning of this month, we had a trip to the aquarium with her scheduled. And I just had been going through it a couple days before that. And the day before, I just knew I needed something for myself. And I scheduled actually therapy that day. And even that morning, he kept asking me, like, are you sure you don't want to go? And I had already told him, like, hey, I scheduled therapy. Like, I need some kind of support right now. And it's, and he asked me literally almost 4 times. I kept saying no. I stuck to my word to myself. And even though I felt a little bit guilty, a lot of me felt so much better. And I felt like great afterward because I knew I needed that. And I did want to go to the aquarium, but I more so wanted to show up for me in that way. And that's something that I'm practicing now currently, that's getting easier and better. Because before becoming a mom, I feel like I had more clarity and it was easier. But now sometimes you get mommy guilt and you want to say yes more, but you have to listen to yourself and override that, like listen to your body and what your mind is needing that week or that day, and follow through if you can, so that way you can prove to yourself like, hey, I trust myself, I honor myself. And so that's what I'm practicing now, and I'm really proud of myself because it's not easy.
I love that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to piggyback again off of what Lisa Marie said of, and also JC, of no being a complete sentence. There's been so many times in my life where I'll say no because da 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 da. And it's only until recently that I started like deleting the after part and just saying no. I used to feel really guilty, especially with like 2 kids, of like not doing the PTA, not volunteering, not being a part of this committee or that committee or X, Y, and Z. Because I've realized as I've gotten older that my most precious resource is time. So what I say yes to, it has to feel good. I have to really want to do it. And if I don't, I have to say no. There's no discussion about it, because if I say yes to something that I really wanted to say no to, I feel resentment, and that like lingers in my body and it feels awful. So I'd rather be uncomfortable for a minute and tell someone no than be resentful for I don't know how long because I couldn't say no. And I need to say no because no one can do that for me. So it's kind of taking ownership of my time.
Can
That's
I
what
add
I
to
would
that?
equate it to.
Can I add to what you're saying as well? As
Oh, yes,
a
ma'am.
mom as well, there's an identity shift, right? That happens from single to motherhood. But what is always to be remembered is that you were you before baby, and you are you now. So that's a big piece of self care, especially for moms or career women. Whatever it is that we're doing is to honor You were here first, you were doing you first. Yes, now we're taking care of littles and now we're in a career. However, self-care is honoring self, and you were that before all of the other things. So it's a transition, but it's still bringing you to that next season of life or that next transition.
And JC, that's another thing that like really irks me is no one holds your hand during the
Mm,
whole motherhood aspect. They'll do a baby shower, they'll come visit you when it's a newborn, but after that, it's like best of luck, my friend.
right.
But there's so much in that transition that happens that like we need to hold and support and
Yes.
love and show up. That doesn't happen. And I feel like we lose a lot of mothers to like the baby blues or depression. But
Mm,
it's like if we supported those women, like really supported them, not just like, let me hold your baby, but actually
right.
like came, hey, what do you need? Do you need dinner? Do you need me to do your dishes? Do you need me to go walk your baby? Like, let me know. But we don't hold our mothers in this community. And
Right.
it's awful.
Or how can I help you to help yourself? Like having other women come in and be that reminder of you were you before the baby. So please continue to honor yourself and having those discussions and not just okay. And then that also adds to you feeling like you want to do everything because you think, oh, I got to do this, and then your identity is kind of swept away somewhere, and it's not.
I just want to add to that is like my favorite part is like because I have two daughters, they're 4 and 6 right now. They see me go to like soccer for myself and they're like, oh mommy, like why are you leaving, like I want you to stay. I'm like, well, mommy has to go do this for me so I come back
Mhm.
better, so then they can see me doing it and then normalize it so
Yes.
they have like a reference point of, hey, when I'm older it's okay to take time, it's okay to take up space.
Yes.
I think you're right about that, about the mom thing. I'm not a mom, but I had a mom. I tell my friends that all the time. And my mom was always one when she wanted to do something. I mean, she was a great mom, but when she wanted to do something, she did it. She always kept herself up. Her hair was always done, nails was always done. She was always like in a good mood. Like she just did what she wanted to do though. Like it
There
was
it
like, no, I'm not doing that, I'm going to do this. Like
is.
I
That's
mean,
it.
and she was one to like always tell people, and she's still that way. I'm like, mama, if someone is asking you to do something and you don't want to do it, just say no. So I think she does struggle with that, but when she wants to do something, she goes to do it. Like she had
Yes.
ever since a little girl. But you were talking about a mom group, if I'm not mistaken. Lisa, do you have a mom group?
Um,
Sorry, I was checking to see if I had my speaker on. I did. I was. Oh, I think I okay. ended that 2 months ago, but Oh, just sorry. because I wanted to share that I feel like those spaces are needed,
Yeah.
and so I did create one. Um, just because I'm still going through a lot of that stuff. I'm finally like out of the density, and I have the awareness to know what's needed and but I'm still dealing with like resentment for my partner and for him to
Mm,
not be able to be there for me like I needed. Like obviously he was there physically, he was there financially, he was there for the baby, but just for him to not really be able to be there for me going through the postpartum stuff. And I'm dealing with that. It's not so big, but now I'm at a place where I'm letting go of a lot of it, and it really just pushed me to kind of like empower myself and then figure out what I needed, and not only create it for other people, but before I was in that place, asking for it from friends or going to therapy so that I could fill myself up in ways that I wasn't, um, from others. And that's why I created the group, because I was like, okay, there must be other people needing this and wanting this. I'm not doing it currently anymore, but I'm always open to creating spaces like that where I feel I didn't have that support. I'm like, okay,
mm.
there somebody has to do this. It has to be created, because I know, like you said, we need these spaces.
I want to add to that, Lisa, what you said, like having the resentment. And I think that is a big piece of self-care is releasing, letting go, surrendering, and forgiveness.
Yeah.
All of that is all a part of self-care, and it's more for us than for, if you have to forgive somebody else, forgive yourself, forgive the other person, but it's mainly for you. But that is a piece that honors you to your core. So I love that you brought that up and that you're working through it. That's amazing.
Yeah, because
It
that
is,
in
yeah.
itself is work to release and to
Yes.
forgive and to let go of things like that is for sure work. But that's
Woo.
another one of those things where that self-care practice isn't always the feel good nail shop
Right.
spa day type deal. Um, the question was things that I've or decision that I've made according to my self-care that didn't align with my self-care. I can think of two things off top. One is I quit my job to focus on my business and all the things that I'm doing. And in the process of that, because I was so frustrated with work,
Mm.
another one of my rules that I set for myself is that I'm not going to do anything that I don't want to do. Like if I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to provide a service that I don't enjoy. I'm not going to take clients that, like, I will cut a client off real fast. Like I don't take clients that don't align with what we have going on. And then two, dealing with the wrong men, like that takes so much like energy, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Like, so those two things have been huge for me. Um,
Oh my
but
God, that's so good.
and they're not
That's so
easy.
good.
They're not easy to do, but it's like you gotta go, bro. On to the next.
Oh my goodness. So good and so true.
Yeah. Um, what are you guys grateful for today? Anybody?
Oh,
My slow
oh,
mornings. Slow
oh.
mornings. I am grateful for slow mornings to get up and expand in my own, at my own time, my own pace, drink my tea and just be. And then I start my day when I feel ready to start my day. So slow mornings and being here with you ladies.
This
Um,
connection is amazing. I think like having the opportunity to be in a room with so many women that have such great perspectives and ideas, like is such a thing that I'm grateful for. And, being able to wake up and have new experiences as well, I think really encapsulates like what life is really about.
I'll go next. I'm also grateful for my slow morning, for my mom being here to be with Camila, so I can be here fully present with you ladies today. And I'm grateful for just the lineup of the podcast, not being one person, so the pressure's not on one person, but we're here together, we're learning from each other, and I really appreciate that I have the time and the space for this. So thank you for that.
For me, I think just being grateful to be here and getting you guys' perspective because slow mornings is not something that I've mastered yet. So I think just being present, just being able to be present and clear minded, my kids and work, just the blessings that I've had and have, and those to come. I think that's my greatest something that makes me happy.
So for me, what I am grateful for, yesterday I had like a little bit of a reflection day. Anytime I go to the gym and I spend a lot of time doing steam room and sauna, I am praying and reflecting and all these different things. But what I realize that I'm most grateful for is my family. Like I have an amazing family, all the way from my grandparents to my parents, to my aunties, to my uncles. Like I'm surrounded by great men. I have a really good family and I'm really, really grateful for that. Sometimes I may either I don't think I take it for granted, but I might not, I just don't think about it. And I just had a situation where I'm looking at one person and I'm just like, ew. And then I'm like, I don't know. It was just a thing. So I'm grateful for my family.
I'm grateful for this time. I'm grateful for my husband taking the kids today so I could do this. Very grateful for that. I had to make a decision of either go to this podcast or go with my husband to this his family's get together, and I just had to make the decision for me and what I wanted, even though it was might have been unpopular. But I had to put myself first and what I wanted, and then just being grateful for the support that I received for making that stand. I know a lot of people aren't that fortunate, so I'm very grateful for that opportunity to be here.
I love that. I love that, and I'm also grateful that you guys showed up for me. Like I'm always grateful for anyone that just shows up. So thank you guys all for being here. I guess I'll just combine the two last questions. So the last question is, what advice do you have as far as self care goes for the oldest person here and the youngest person here? And then if you want to add anything to, I don't know, if you want to share what you're doing or anything you have to add to it.
I can go. Loving on yourself. I think that's what self care is about. Taking that time to love on yourself and just understand yourself. You know, I became a mom, a wife at a very young age, and it was like, okay, at what point do I start to learn myself? You know, because sometimes when we get into those roles of being a wife, a mom, a business person, we lose focus on what we like to do and what we enjoy and just who we are as a person. So just loving on yourself, taking that time, even if it's just going out to lunch, you know, and I think that's for all ages. I think we never stop learning ourselves. We never stop evolving as people and appreciating certain experiences. I think um, I've had certain situations to where I'm like, I'm at an event and then I leave and I'm like, was I really present? You know, was I really there? And I think taking that time just to be present and to understand those experiences and accept them, I think that's important.
I love that.
I can go next. I feel like it's really important to honor your mind, body, and spirit. And for everyone, it's different. I think doing small goals each day, whether it's 5 minutes, 1 minute, just to be with yourself and feed your soul. I think that's important. It might look different to everyone, and that's okay. But I feel like really taking the time, even if it's just 1 minute after putting the kids to bed, that you take it. It's important. It's important for you first and foremost. And it's also important for the people who love that are in your life to show up for them, to show up whole, to be present, to be. And that's everything.
I love that.
Oh, am I the last one? So I would say I wrote down a couple of points, but I think just being open to experimenting and like having fun and trying new things that are considered self care. Like for me, I feel like certain things I've been doing for 2 years, 6 months, it's changing as I change. So I like to stop at least once a month, but honestly, I reflect almost every day and just kind of ask myself, what is it that I need to remove and replace in my life? And sometimes, it's a self-care ritual that maybe doesn't really, do anything for me. So I would say to just reflect, be open to removing and replacing, experimenting, trying new things, having fun with it, and just to slowly, build your rituals and your self-care time to what it is that you need in the season of life, because we are always changing. So that would be my advice.
I love that.
I'll go next. And I'll end the way I started, which is mind, body, spirit. And from self care practices from the young to the older, my son is 12, my mom is in her 70s, and the practices are the same. Me being in the middle, I'm teaching my son gratitude, affirmations, minding his mind, how to move his body, being intuitive about what he eats, and being mindful about what he's intaking, not only nutrition, but also video games or TV or conversations with his friends. And then the same with my mom. She didn't start her personal development journey until she was maybe in her 60s, but all of this goes through generations. So it's really sharing that, role modeling it, walking the talk, talking the walk, whatever that saying is, but you being that, so those around you, young or old, can see that, and they are then inspired, or they can adopt what it is that you're doing. And I think too, um, back to moms, it's just being able to, we're holistic beings, right? So it is mind, body, spirit, but it's all ages and all stages. So for moms, that's a piece that I wanted to share, is that I find that there's a disconnect. Moms are learning, or they're on this new journey, and they don't translate that over to their children. So if this is a new thing for you and you're into this gratitude and you're saying your affirmations, do the same with your children, so they don't feel like they had a late start while you've been doing, your own practices. Share it with them, and then they will just continue the practice and be even more integrated and embodied into that as they are growing up, and yeah, just being beautiful humans.
I love that.
Yeah, I think a big theme of a lot of this conversation is like connecting your mind and your body. And I think a really important thing is, that I'll say is, listen to your body. If your body is saying, I'm tired, maybe that's time to slow down. If your mind is saying, like, I'm exhausted, maybe it's time to really look at what your needs are. And I think one of the things is like giving yourself a lot of grace as well. We're so hard on ourselves, and we see everything that we do as such a flaw. And this goes back to like the whole identity thing. When we become a mother, it becomes, I lose my own identity. And it's not only losing your own identity, it's a lot of people pushing expectations of what a mother should look like. So a lot of the times you feel like, oh, this person is judging me for XYZ, and I'm not meeting the expectations of what a mother looks like. But it's understanding that mother does start with you and then goes to your children, and giving yourself that grace and that time to say, like, if I don't take care of myself and if I'm not mindful of how I move, then that will go down to my children. Those attachments will go down to my children. And the part of why I moved into a private practice, funny enough, it's called Whole Human Wellness. And I really love the concept of whole human, because we should be connected with all parts of us. And I guess the last thing that I can add there is like, I think we need to be connected with the child part of us as well. Like, what does it mean to let ourselves go from all of these expectations and be able to just say, like, what are my needs right now, without tending to everybody else's needs? So just locking into like, what are my true core values, and can I align myself with my core values, and do I need to like change those so that I can live alongside my core values, to kind of get to the point where I feel like I'm caring about myself before I'm caring about everybody else.
I love that. Advice that I would have to the youngest is that do the hard things now. Like, do the stuff you don't want to do like, just so that you can get in the, I don't know, get the system rolling, so that it's because when you do the hard things now, over time it becomes easier. Do the hard things now so that when you're older, these things will be set in stone. And like I said, it will be easier, and you're contributing to the woman that you will be, opposed to just being in the moment. And the advice that I would have to the oldest, or the older women, is that live your life. Like, do the thing that you always wanted to do. Go to the places that you always wanted to go, and show up for yourself. Do the uncomfortable things. But just do it, because at the end of the day, we're going to die. We're going to be dead one day. So like, live your life though, seriously. But like I said, thank you all so very much for showing up for me. We did it. This was episode 3. I kind of have an idea of what I want to do for episode 4, but we're still here for episode 3. So thank you, ladies, for showing up for me. Have a beautiful week. Don't forget to thank God for your blessings. Don't forget to say your prayers, and don't forget to take care of your skin. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye, ladies.